Stefon Diggs' worst nightmare just came true. For Stefon Diggs, life had always been about precision, speed, and seizing every opportunity on the football field. Known for his agility, determination, and playmaking skills, he had become one of the most respected and feared wide receivers in the league. But one day, everything seemed to shift in an instant, bringing him face to face with what he would later call his worst nightmare. It wasn't a rival team or a bad game that shook him. It was something he never saw coming, something that could jeopardize not just his career, but his reputation, his confidence, and the sense of control he had worked so hard to maintain. The news hit him like a storm. Sudden, shocking, and impossible to ignore. His heart raced, his mind spun, and for the first time in years, Stefon felt completely unprepared for what was happening. The gravity of the situation weighed on him immediately. Unlike the challenges he had faced on the field, this was personal, unpredictable, and carried consequences beyond the stadium. Fans, teammates, and the media would all react, and the story would unfold publicly, leaving him vulnerable in ways he had never experienced. The sense of disbelief and urgency was overwhelming, but Stefon knew he had no choice but to confront it head-on. In that moment, he realized that this nightmare wasn't just about a single incident. It was a test of his resilience, his character, and his ability to face adversity with courage. The stakes couldn't have been higher, and the journey to overcome it was only beginning. Stefon Diggs' journey to becoming one of the league's top wide receivers had been a story of hard work, talent, and relentless focus. From a young age, he had shown remarkable athletic ability, quickly earning a reputation as a player who could change the course of a game with a single play. Over the years, his dedication to training, studying game films, and perfecting his craft had paid off, allowing him to rise to prominence in the NFL. Fans admired his speed and precision. Teammates relied on his consistency, and coaches trusted his instincts on the field. Beyond the game, Stefon had built a life that reflected success, a loving family, endorsements, and a growing influence as a public figure. Everything seemed to be falling into place. But with great success came great pressure. As a high-profile athlete, every move he made was scrutinized, both on and off the field. Social media amplified every decision, every mistake, and every victory, creating an environment where perfection felt mandatory. The physical and mental demands of football were relentless, but the external pressures, the expectations from fans, sponsors, and the media added a different kind of weight. Even with his accomplishments, Stefon had moments of doubt, wondering if he could maintain his peak performance while keeping his personal life intact. Little did he know, the challenge he was about to face would push him beyond anything he had encountered before, threatening not only his career, but the life he had meticulously built. The nightmare for Stefon Diggs began on what seemed like an ordinary game day. The stadium lights shone brightly, the fans roared, and the team was focused on another crucial matchup. But just as he prepared to take the field, Stefon received news that no athlete ever wants to hear, an unexpected injury that could change everything. It wasn't a minor strain or a routine setback. This was a serious situation that threatened not only his performance in the upcoming season, but potentially his long-term career. The moment the words hit him, a wave of disbelief and panic swept over him. All the preparation, all the victories, all the sacrifices, it all felt suddenly fragile, like it could be lost in a heartbeat. The emotional impact was immediate. Stefon's mind raced with questions. How serious is it? Will I recover in time? Will I ever play at this level again? Beyond the physical pain, there was fear. Fear of letting his team down, fear of disappointing fans, and fear of the unknown future. His reputation, built on years of dedication and countless highlight-worthy plays, now hung in the balance. Outside the locker room, rumors and speculation began to swirl. Social media erupted as news of his injury spread, with fans expressing concern, worry, and even criticism. For Stefon, this nightmare wasn't just about his body. It was about everything he had worked for and loved in his career. Suddenly, the game he had always controlled seemed to control him, and the challenge of navigating this unexpected crisis became the defining moment of his life. The aftermath of Stefon Diggs' shocking injury sent ripples far beyond the football field. Initially, he tried to stay composed, focusing on medical reports, treatment plans, and recovery timelines. But as days passed, the reality of the situation sank in. The injury wasn't just a temporary setback, it carried the risk of sidelining him for months, potentially costing him key games, endorsements, and even affecting his future contract negotiations. Every call, every text, and every headline seemed to amplify the pressure. The fear he had initially felt turned into a constant tension, making even simple tasks feel heavy with consequence. Public reaction added another layer of stress. Fans flooded social media with support, but criticism and speculation were inevitable. Some questioned his durability, others debated whether he could return to his previous form, and a few even doubted his commitment to the game. Teammates expressed concern, coaches offered reassurance, but Stefon couldn't escape the gnawing feeling of uncertainty. Off the field, personal relationships were tested too. Family and friends tried to support him, but the emotional burden weighed heavily on him, creating moments of isolation and self-doubt. The nightmare had escalated from a single moment into a multi-layered crisis, challenging his physical endurance, mental strength, and emotional resilience. Every decision, from treatment options to public statements, carried enormous weight, making it clear that this was more than an injury. It was a turning point that could define the rest of his career. Amid the fear, doubt, and uncertainty, Stefon Diggs reached a moment of clarity. He realized that dwelling on what had happened would do nothing to change his circumstances. Instead, he needed to take control of the situation and face his nightmare head-on. With the guidance of doctors, trainers, and a close circle of mentors, he devised a plan to tackle both the physical and mental challenges ahead. Every day became a battle of discipline, focus, and perseverance. The workouts were grueling, the recovery slow, and the temptation to doubt himself strong, but Stefon refused to give in. He also took steps to confront the external pressures. Social media speculation, fan reactions, and media scrutiny could no longer dictate his emotions. He learned to set boundaries, focusing only on what he could control: his recovery, his mindset, and his determination to return stronger. Emotional resilience became as important as physical strength. In private, he visualized success, reminding himself of past victories and the countless hours of work that had brought him to this point. He began documenting his progress, small wins fueling his motivation, and gradually restoring his confidence. This turning point marked a shift from victim to fighter, showing that even when life throws the worst possible scenario at you, determination and strategic action can become the path to overcoming it. The climax of Stefon Diggs's nightmare arrived during the first game back after months of recovery. The stadium was packed, the air electric with anticipation, and every eye in the league seemed to be on him. The stakes had never been higher, not just for the team's success, but for his own reputation, career trajectory, and personal confidence. As he stepped onto the field, memories of the injury and the months of doubt flashed through his mind. Every muscle tensed, every heartbeat echoed with the weight of the moment. It was as if all the months of grueling rehab, mental preparation, and emotional struggle had led to this single instant. The opening plays were a test of nerve and skill. Stefon felt the familiar thrill of the game, but also the lingering fear that the nightmare might return. Each sprint, each catch, each strategic move became a micro-battle against the lingering anxiety that had haunted him since the injury. Fans held their breath as he dodged defenders and pushed his limits, proving not only his physical ability, but his mental fortitude. In that tense, electrifying environment, it became clear this was more than a game. It was a testament to resilience, determination, and the power of refusing to let a nightmare define your story. Every successful play, every decisive catch, was a small victory, but the tension remained until the final whistle, until Stefon truly knew he had faced the worst and survived. After that intense return, Stefon Diggs finally felt a sense of relief wash over him. The game had tested everything: his body, his mind, and his spirit, but he had proven to himself that he was stronger than the nightmare that had threatened to derail his career. Though the road had been filled with uncertainty, doubt, and immense pressure, Stefon's dedication and resilience had carried him through. He realized that the injury, while terrifying, had also taught him valuable lessons about patience, self-care, and the importance of mental strength in addition to physical skill. Beyond the field, the resolution was just as meaningful. His teammates, coaches, and fans rallied around him, not just for his performance, but for the courage he had shown in confronting adversity head-on. Endorsements and opportunities that once seemed at risk returned, but more importantly, Stefon felt a renewed sense of purpose and confidence. He understood that challenges, no matter how frightening, could become catalysts for growth if faced with determination and clarity. The nightmare that once loomed over him had become a defining chapter in his story, one that highlighted his perseverance, courage, and unwavering commitment to his craft. Stefon Diggs emerged not just as a skilled athlete, but as an example of how confronting your fears can lead to transformation, respect, and self-belief. As the dust settled on what had felt like the worst period of his life, Stefon Diggs reflected on everything he had endured. The nightmare that had once threatened to derail his career had become a powerful lesson about resilience, focus, and self-belief. He realized that life, like football, is unpredictable, full of challenges that can appear without warning. But it is not the challenges themselves that define us. It is how we respond to them. By confronting his fears head-on, staying disciplined, and trusting in his abilities, Stefon had turned a moment of despair into a story of triumph. The takeaway for viewers was clear. Even when your worst nightmare comes true, it does not have to be the end of your story. Courage, persistence, and a commitment to doing your best in the face of uncertainty can transform obstacles into opportunities. Stefon's journey showed that setbacks are temporary, and growth often comes from the very moments we fear most. He encouraged others to embrace challenges, stay resilient, and never underestimate the power of believing in themselves. In the end, the nightmare became not just a memory, but a defining chapter that strengthened him, inspired those around him, and proved that true champions are made not only on the field, but through their ability to rise after every fall.